Blade Talk with Scab and Joe.
The American experiment requires us all to push the boundaries.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Blade Talk with Scab and Joe. Sit back, relax. We got a pretty good show here. Please don't forget our U.S. veterans. Growing awareness for veteran suicide. Hashtag 22 a day no more. Veterans, you always have a place here. There is a number in the description of all of my videos for some good folk that can help you if you are in despair. All right, guys, I gave you the super extended introduction of Blade Talk today, but the only way that we can start this Blade Talk going for this particular Blade Talk, considering honoring our guests, is going to be this way. Actually, I'm sorry, I fucked it up. All right. And Blade Talk is going with Tops Knives coming in. You got Leo and Craig in the room. Obviously, Scab is at the wing as well. Thank you for joining us on Blade Talk with Scab and Joe for yet another edition with another amazing, iconic, great American company in Tops Knives. You know them. You love them. And please bring in your comments. Let us talk. Let's bring in, engage with us. And if you have any questions, we'll definitely try to address them as well. But thank you for joining us. And as you saw in the introduction, guys, with my channel, Scab's channel, and Blade Talk with Scab and Joe, we always try to grow awareness for veterans. For veteran suicide, hashtag 22 a day no more. Anything over 0 is too much. So what we're simply saying, guys, is, in its simplest forms, is the fact that veterans, you have a place here. You have a place to join with us, talk about knives, relax, and have a good time. So hopefully you're joining us on this Blade Talk with Scab and Joe as well. So without further ado, let's bring Leo and Craig into the room from Tops Knives and, of course, our beloved Scab, and let's get Blade Talk rolling.
How's it going, everybody?
What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
Welcome back.
Pretty awesome intro.
Yeah, that was a great intro.
Thank you.
Joe, do you know what the whistle's for?
Do I know what the whistle's for? I know it's fancy, but it's basically, I don't know. What is the whistle for? Tell me.
Leo, tell me.
Scab. I want to hear your. I want to hear
Yeah,
Tell me what the whistle's for.
Well, the whistle's if you get lost or something in the woods, you can blow your whistle.
Yeah.
You know, if you fall off your boat drunk, you can blow your whistle. Or
Yeah.
see
So
somebody walking by,
you.
you can't call, you can whistle. That's what it's for.
When you're up
Scab
Schitt's Creek, when you're up Schitt's Creek, you got a whistle to help you out. I mean, that's what it is.
I thought we were going the rape whistle.
Yeah, I thought we were going the rape whistle route. So
last time I blew that, it was a big ordeal. Listen, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need y'all to make me a dagger. Listen, ain't nobody on the damn internet can sell more knives than I can. So if y'all will make me a dagger, I'll sell it for you. I can't get, and I'm serious, they either cost too damn much money or they're not worth a shit. I bought 2 in 2 days that I'm going to throw in the trash when this is over. Can y'all do that for me? It's a simple request.
Funny thing you say that. I don't think we've said this anywhere else, but Lassie Zabo, we're actually working on one with him right now. We'll probably do, it's going to probably debut a shot.
Good. Good.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's the legalities, and I know, but I was thinking about it. I had a moment of inspiration, just like you guys do with some of the missile strikes or with the Tahoma, even if you made it a thinned out false wedge where if somebody wanted to sharpen it, they could. I don't know how that falls with you guys with liability. But
did you ever get a chance to look at that Mac 7?
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever get a chance to play with that? I'm gonna check my stock and see if we have any.
There's some right up there.
Yeah, so I'll send one your way to play with.
Well, yeah. Nobody. Well, they get, we live in the day and age of the internet where, you got a feather stick with it and all that shit. But the truth is, the truth is, it's as old as antiquity, right?
Yep.
It has a purpose. We get that, but it's like so many companies fail at it. And I'm dead ass serious. Honest to God, today I thought I'm gonna ask Leo and Craig if because it's just like I think what happens, and you guys can speak on this. I think everybody has an idea, right? Everybody wants to make a knife or design a knife, right? But there's a difference in, sitting at dinner with a stroke of genius and being a knife designer. Talk to us a little bit, Leo. What do you draw inspiration from?
So I don't know. I guess it changes for every design, and probably it's going to sound weird, but when it's coming from a company, just hearing the person that's sort of making the call, hearing what they want, I can sort of get the information that I need to design something. But if it's me, like, sort of filling a void in what's needed out there, then that's a different way I'd look at it, I guess. Social media is a big part of what everybody does. And so, when you start hearing this, or you start hearing whatever, whatever way it is, but you hear different things or what people need, that sort of helps me design. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird probably the way I'm saying it, but just by hearing people talk, I can design something from that.
Yeah.
I can sit here and look at you, and I know you like big choppers and big this, and so that's why that Mac 7, it's a dagger.
Let me see if I can bring it up on screen.
You're not gonna hurt this thing. You're not gonna hurt this thing. You're gonna have fun with it, and wait till you get it. You'll see what I'm talking about.
That I think for me that's the key.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Is having, that's wicked. That's wicked. I think, especially for today's consumer, and say for the guys in the chat or a knife reviewer, I think a lot of times the fun's lost, right?
Correct.
And some of that is, and I'll just be honest with you, there's times I get stuff in and you're going, what in the hell? How am I going to review this?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you appreciate the compliment, but at the same time, it's like, holy smokes. So I wonder how often, and I know you guys get inundated with designs and things like that. How many requests do you get a day?
Probably we get about anywhere 10 to 15.
Really?
A week. Oh, we get, there's a shitload of them.
Yeah, it's a lot of them we just don't even entertain. They're just
and the thing is too, when we get a design, to me, I always look for uniqueness, something unique, something you're really not seeing. And nowadays, everybody designs and they do a hell of a job doing it. But it's hard to design something different. And with a lot of the stuff that we're getting, they'll get like a Steel Eagle and this other knife we make and this other knife we make, and they put it together and they want to call it their design.
Right.
You follow me? And so that it's tough to even look at that and say, oh yeah, good design.
Like combining a different blade with a different handle and things like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is our design, and then they want to call it theirs. We had some issues way back in the day with a damn a tracker folder that Craig just said, that's a great idea, and then the guy's like, well, if you make it, I'm going to sue you because it was my idea.
Yeah. It was a random comment on a YouTube video. The guy said, you guys should make a folding tracker, and word for word, my response back was, that's a really interesting idea.
Yeah.
And he didn't let it go for years, and it got to the point where we literally got our lawyer involved, and he's like, if that dude reaches out again, I'll take care of it. But it was crazy how much he just kept coming back to, like, you know what, if you just give me one of everything you make, then you don't have to give me royalties. It's like, we don't have to give you royalties anyway. Who are you? Like, you're not even real.
Yeah, so.
Let me ask you.
That's a lot we do.
That does touch on an interesting point. And Joe, if you would just make sure in the comments, because we're going to do more of a Q&A, but on something like that, there's nothing new under the sun. Every blade shape that's ever going to be made has been made. So saying that, I don't see how anyone, unless you just took somebody's design, and I mean, spec for, but and I'm sitting here and I'm just kind of looking across my shelves. There's a lot of knives that look so much alike.
Correct.
We're going to hit a day and age in the next 5-10 years where it's going to be impossible not to do something like that. Do you guys get threatened a lot like that?
I don't know if I would say a lot. We average about one a year.
Do you really?
Like that's how it's been probably the last 5-6 years, right? Probably since before COVID. At least one knife that we debut at SHOT Show, somebody will come out of the woodworks and say, that's my design. Or that guy that said he designed it didn't.
But the thing is, the funny part about that, it's mainly with knives that come from somebody. It's not our design that we made.
Yeah.
It's a collaboration we're doing with somebody. That's when we've literally the last 6 years has been a collaboration we did, and it comes out that this person helped this person design that, and now it's a thing between them. And so Tops don't want to get involved, and that's when we were like, all right, we're pulling out of this. We don't want nothing to do.
We've basically our position now is like, if you bring us a design and we say yes to it and we start making it, and somebody comes back and says, hey, that's mine, we will give the designer, whoever talked to us first, we'll give them a chance to explain. And if it's not just an outright lie by the other person, we're done. We're out. Yeah. It's even if they're like, oh, you know what? It's cool. You can do it. That it's cool now. It's cool until we release it and start selling it, and then it's not cool because they're like, oh, I'm missing out on money, and so we just don't mess with it anymore. There's one that I always remember because it was glorious. There was a company in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
That reached out to us after SHOT Show for a knife that we were making that was brought to us by an outside designer, and they didn't reach out to us like, oh, hey guys, we saw this knife, it's similar to something we're making. No, their buddies started hitting every single post on our social media, from YouTube to Instagram to Facebook, and every post it was like, oh, these guys are copying these guys, and it was multiple people. And so I started doing research. I'm looking on the internet and I'm finding what I can. And the earliest mention I could find of this knife that they're talking about, that's theirs, was from April of the year before. Well, the good news for us is we had debuted that model in January before that April. Yeah. So I responded back to the guy and I was like, hey, you know what? I understand that you're upset about this. Maybe just help me understand a little bit better. First of all, these two knives are not the same. They're different designs. They're both daggers with a finger hole on the back, but a straight handle, not curved like a karambit. That's it. That's where it ends. And I'm like, look, first of all, they're not the same knife. Second of all, the earliest mention I can find from you guys is in April of this year, and our earliest mention is from January of the same year. So we've got you beat by 4 months. It's not possible that we copied you. And the guy responds back and he's like, where is that? You got to prove it. I'm like, bitch, I don't have to prove this to you. Go and figure it out yourself. So about 45 minutes later, I get another email from the guy and he's like, hey, I found it. I'm so sorry. I'll have these guys stop hitting your social media.
But the thing was, it's not just that. Is he was threatening that he was going to throw his lawyer.
Yeah.
And that we had to come into it. That's the funny part that Craig left out, that he threatened so much.
Oh yeah. Lots of threats.
Yeah, until he backtracked so hard and but
yeah. So in the end, we're like, guys. So he responds back, he apologizes, he has his guys stop making all the comments, and most people were kind of like, these two knives aren't the same. Anybody that actually took the time to look. And in the end, our response back to him was like, you know what, man, it's cool. Maybe next time you have an issue like this, just reach out to the company first. If you had just talked to us, we would have been cool from the start. You didn't have to threaten legal action in your first email.
That's what people don't realize, is the fact that reach out to the company first and just talk to them.
Yeah,
Everybody always
100%.
jumps to like, oh, that's it. I'm going to my lawyer. Just talk to the company. I mean, if you have an issue, talk to the company.
Well, the icing on the cake for us is that we were in our response back. We're like, hey, you know what? We're gonna still allow you guys to make that knife because we still don't think you copied us. So it's cool. You can make it. And that I think that was like the best shot to them is like, hey, you were trying to make us stop doing this, and you know what? It's cool. You can still make yours.
Yeah.
So they and we even told, I think at the very end, we were like, hey, you know what? If you guys ever go to like a SHOT Show or a Blade Show or something, come and introduce yourselves and say hi. Like it's not like we're gonna like blackball you guys in the industry. It's not like we're gonna be out to get you. Like we're cool. I haven't even talked to them since. We've never had any other issues. I think they're still making knives. I think they still exist. Like whatever. It's cool. It's not a problem. They just it's just weird how people approach things like that.
Oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Joe, you got any questions? Real quick before you do, ever since you guys were on the last time, and just going into the same topic, this wild pig hunter, every time I show this some bitch, well, you know they copied it. And I can't type fast enough. I get so excited. I'm like, no. Get your facts straight. But I can't imagine. Because, like I said, knives are knives are knives are knives. And Tops has a distinct look. They do. You can show me a knife and I can tell you if it's a Tops knife. You have a brand look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
And you have a monster catalog. You have
And so there's one thing that's one thing we do. So when we do a collaboration with somebody, that's the first thing I tell them is, can I Topsify it? If I can Topsify it, then we're good to keep going on this collaboration, because I get it that that's their design, but I want to have the Tops look so people know that we're making it.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
There's some things that Leo does with pretty much every knife that are basically like rules, and they're little details, and they're things that in the end don't mean that much, and most people don't pick up on it. Most people can't put their finger on it, but like you were saying, Scab, they notice that it's like, that's a Tops, and they can't necessarily say why, but they catch it. And every now and then we'll get a designer that'll pick up on that too. Like actually one of the pictures you have in the background here, the MPAT, the guy that sent us his prototype for that did a lot of things on purpose that matched kind of our style in the first place. So I
would say yes to it. That's why
he was. I mean, it was totally psychological. Everything he did, and he's a good dude. He's really smart. But that I think did have an impact on us making that knife, because he was like, "Hey, I did this because that's what you guys do, and I did that because that's what you guys do." And Leo's like, "Yeah, you know what? I wouldn't have to change much on this. Like, it's already looks like a Tops." And but like you said, some people recognize it, but putting your finger on it's a whole nother thing. And the longer I work here, the more I'm just like, oh, there's another one of Leo's little signatures. There's another little thing that he does that makes this what it is, so that it's repeatable, even though the knives are totally different. Like it's crazy the range that we have from a little like bartender defender, like cut open boxes and open bottles knife, up to big choppers and hatchets and stuff. There's still similarities between them.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I find it interesting how. Go ahead, Scab. I'm sorry.
No. I was just going to say there's nuances in the handle and there's nuances on the spine that you can see. Or that I can. That's how I can tell.
Yeah, you've seen enough knives. You probably are catching up on a lot of that too.
Try.
I just find it amazing how people can basically with everything, and even everyone in the chat is saying the same thing. I can't understand how with so many designs that have been done over and over again in so many different variations, how anybody could come in and claim that that's their design or that's their curves or that's just how they did. It's a very hard thing to prove. Like you guys have a Nesmith knife. You guys have a kukri, right?
Yep.
Now, so does K-Bar. So does Spartan. Everyone has their own versions of every single knife. See, what I find it interesting to do is take a lot of these American companies. Like I have a kukri thing going on right now. So I have a kukri from K-Bar. I have a kukri from Spartan. I would love to get a kukri from you guys. And I want to compare Really, just basically go, with all the American-made kukris. Which one, highlight differences in each of them. Which performs better in this way, that way. That's just a kind of a fun thing to do. But listen, everyone has every version of everything. That's really what it comes down to. My question to you guys is: do you guys ever? I mean, I don't live on your site. I glance at your site maybe like once a week, once every 2 weeks. But do you guys have any like version 2s? Do you guys ever take any of your most popular designs and maybe revamp them or make them with a different steel? I know somebody I'm going to have you answer, but I know somebody in the chat had asked me because one of my favorite knives from you guys, I actually showed it today on one of my videos, is the El Chete, which Leo, you designed it. Okay. Somebody had asked me, they're looking to see the El Chete made in 3V. With a 3V blade.
We have talked about that.
Yeah, that's
we have definitely talked about that.
Yeah, that's coming on the stainless steel version.
That is coming. So that answers, I think, Guns and Blades. I think you had asked that there. But just to answer my question, do you guys revisit any of your most popular designs? Are you looking to revisit to make any like version 2s or anything like that?
Yeah. So let me sort of get you on that. So actually, last year. But then I changed my mind like right before SHOT Show. I was gonna pull like the top 10 of our models and revamp them with new steels, whether it was stainless, whatever G10, and revamp them. Actually, this one that I have here, this is a wilderness guide, and that one we just revamped from. It's a little different, but this one I thickened it up. I did different things on the handle, so we do that. But we have some. I guess we've been thinking about doing it with a lot more models, and that year not bringing up anything new, but just revamp models.
Yeah, there's we've been talking about bringing back retired models that retired not necessarily because they weren't selling, but more just because they weren't getting any promotion. What we've seen, at least with our company, I don't know for other companies, I can't speak to them, but for us, typically if a knife is still selling well after it's been released for approximately 6 years, it's probably just going to sell well pretty much forever. And if it's not, then either it didn't get the right promotion, we didn't reach the right audience, or
we released it at the wrong time.
Yeah,
too.
Yeah, or it just doesn't have the right finishes sometimes. Like that Wild Pig Hunter that you were showing, the first version of that Topps did was called the Joint Spec Ops. It was a gray powder coat with a white and black G10 handle. Everything was kind of rounded and smooth, and it still had that kind of tactical look. Still same shape basically, but the Wild Pig Hunter, everything got kind of sharpened up. All the corners a little sharper. Everything's a little sharper, and we put different finishes on it, and it sold like crazy. And it still sells like crazy. And it's the same knife. It is the same knife as a Joint Spec Ops. It's just those changes made all the difference, and the timing might have been right too. Who knows? So that happens regularly. Where, like, even with people that bring us designs, sometimes the answer is not no. Sometimes the answer is not right now. Like, that knife is cool, but maybe it's just not the right time to release it because that's not what people are looking for. So it's a funny thing how that all works. But yeah, old models, current models. There's some models where we've done like a larger or smaller version. There's some that have a couple of different steel options. Actually, we're working on a mini of the El Chete.
Okay.
Which we debuted those at SHOT Show. I mean, it's overall like what, 7 inches,
7-8 inches,
something like that. Like it's literally a mini, but still a knife. So we're working on some fun things like that too. So yeah, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you do have a lot of greats. That's why I asked. You have a lot of classic ones, and to maybe just upgrade. Have you guys touched upon any of the newer steels? Have you guys really touched upon the Magna Cut? How much have you guys dwelled into like the whole Magna Cut thing?
So Magna Cut.
What are your thoughts on Magna Cut anyway?
From what I can tell, Magna Cut is amazing. It seems like a great steel. I don't actually own anything in Magna Cut yet, but I've played around with some that some of our buddies have had and things like that. It seems like it holds an edge forever. It seems like it's really good. When it was first getting released and we were thinking about running something in Magna Cut, we were basically told that with the way we manufacture our knives, we're going to have a lot of warping issues when it comes to heat treatment. because we grind and then heat treat.
Right.
And we were told that the companies that heat treat and then grind, they're not going to have as many warping issues. That it's a little more manageable. But if you grind and then heat treat, it's probably going to be hard for you. My understanding is that the guys developing it have been fixing that. I don't know.
They're coming up with a different grade. We heard that at Blade Show.
Yeah,
they're coming up with a different. It's like maybe the second version of Magna Cut, but we heard that. At Blade.
Like they're going to tweak the chemistry a little bit to try to avoid that. I don't know. No, I'm not a metallurgist. It's very interesting to me, but I don't understand how they can mitigate that just by changing the chemistry a little bit. But that's the only reason we haven't used it is just because we were told you're going to have warping issues, and even one of the companies that helps us with heat treat sometimes is like, we won't be able to cover it for you because we just can't. So,
but I don't know how different it is, because I do have some Magna Cut blades, but I can put it against a S35, S35, and I don't know if you're going to tell the difference. If we didn't have any markings on the blade, and you have the same blade, I don't know. I really don't know that if you could tell the difference. I guess that's my personal opinion on that, but it's a cool steel, but it's a lot of hassle for us to do anything with that.
Gotcha.
Would it mess you up too because you differentially heat treat?
So with that type of steel, you can't.
No, yeah.
I mean, I think technically you can. I think there are heat treat systems that will do it, but you can't oil quench that steel. A lot of stainless steels you can't oil quench, and that's how we do our differential heat treat is with oil. So anything that's going to be more of like a positive pressure quench or not an oil quench, that usually is through hardened. So like any of our stainless steels, it's through hardened. It should be the same hardness on the spine.
Differential is only on our high carbon steels.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So and part of that is because I think how fast it cools and whatnot, it doesn't quite work the same with stainless steels as it does with carbon steels. So it's not that we're opposed to it. It's that we were kind of told like you might want to hold off for a little bit on that steel in particular. And with what Leo's saying, I don't know if you guys remember that dude Nick Shabazz. He was like a folder guy, right? He kept talking about the law of diminishing returns with like knife steels, and I think he nailed it on the head. When you're talking about the difference between like S35 and S45, for example, the difference is like from here to here. It's like nothing, but it's like $5 more per pound.
Per pound.
Yeah, like I don't know that it's $5 more per pound better. It probably isn't, and if that's not to knock the people that use that steel,
and when you're talking about
buy those knives either.
$5 in a custom world is different to in a manufacturing world.
That's also true.
Because we're buying, 60, 70,000 pounds. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's a monster.
Yeah. So it's I'm not trying to knock people that are willing to spend that kind of money or use that kind of steel at all. Like if that works for you and you're interested in that, great, do it. Cool. I get caught up in it sometimes too, because sometimes I'm like, man, that's a cool steel. I want to try it. But at the same time, on the other side, it is kind of hard sometimes to justify that much better for like that much more. It's a little hard. So it's weird. It's a weird world.
When you're set up to run one way or set up to run, it makes a lot of sense to look at it in that light. I mean, you have signature things. There are signature things about tops. There's signature things about other brands. Are you really going to swap everything that's people go to top for the diminishing returns, just like you said? Let me throw this out too, because I wanted to touch on this. You guys OEM.
We do. Yes. Yep.
For Architect knives. Okay.
We did. So the newest versions of his, I don't think we didn't make those. The first versions of his.
The two that I did, you guys made. And what impressed me about it was you couldn't, like, looking at it, it didn't have the top signature, right?
Right.
So, but I thought that was cool because when JR hit me up, he said, "Hey man, talk to the OEM." I said, "Okay." I didn't ask him anything about like how they looked or anything, but I was curious to see, would it be tops with another name on it? You know, and I think that's a natural thought, but you guys, I thought you guys did an amazing job with that, and it made it kind of their own. And so, you know, kind of hats off to you, well, not kind of hats off to you guys for doing the work, right? But then giving another knife brand their own identity. I thought that was, that impressed me a lot.
And that we do with every OEM we do. We don't topsify it. We give them what they want, unless they want me to do something that has sort of our look. Then that's when I do it. But if it's an OEM project, they get what they send me in the drawing.
Yeah, we'll try to correct things that we think are mistakes if we see them, or things that might be an issue.
Yeah, sometimes we'll throw in our idea, like say, or you know, just pretty much what we know, and where we see a problem. Like the handle is a big one. That the handle that we receive is really short sometimes, or the finger choice are in the wrong place, and we'll tell them we can adjust this. And sometimes what we do, we even make them out of wood, send them back to them, and then they'll, you know, so they can do their touch to it and make it theirs still. But we that's what we do with the OEMs.
Yeah,
but that's
so and then it depends too on the company. So like the Architect knives, we only made the blades. We didn't make the handles. We didn't make the sheaths. They wanted to do that because they kind of wanted their own hand on it in it too, and they wanted to make multiple handles for only a few knives, which is cool if they can pull it off. And that's part of it, is like sometimes we'll OEM just the blade. Sometimes we'll OEM literally the blade clear up to a product that's ready to just go on the shelf and sell.
And right now we're OEMing a sheath for a company.
Yeah, right now we're making only a sheath for knives that are already made. And so we do kind of everything in between. We don't advertise so much that we do the OEM. We haven't had to because there's been enough work there to keep us busy, but yeah, that's definitely something we will and do.
No, that's cool. I like that. It's a different revenue stream. I think it's smart, but I do like that you guys don't, because I've seen, and I don't, when we're focusing on one brand, that's what we're going to do. So I don't want to bring other brands up, but there are certain companies, when you see the knife, you go, oh, so-and-so made that, not them. And to me, I just kind of look at it and go, I'll just buy it from them. But I really was impressed how you guys made a knife that you couldn't tell it was made by Tops. I think that's cool. I think it's a credit to you guys. I think it's a credit to Architect. I like what they're doing. And I think, I don't know. It set well with me. If that means anything, I just thought, man, this is cool, because I was really, 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 really curious, because you see a knife in a video, and it's a knife in a video. You know what I'm saying? You can't tell a lot about it. Joe's doing the video with all the close-ups and stuff. So I was really curious, but I thought that was cool. I really did. And again, hats off to you guys.
Yeah,
Joe, go ahead.
There is some comments in the chat that I want to get to, and actually more than one person asked, so I have to bring it up on screen. But just to follow up, because you answered the question about the steels, and guys, listen, you guys do certain steels really well. And I was asking about the Magna Cut, but not for any of the reasons saying that you should have Magna Cut. I think that if you're not at the point where you can treat Magna Cut the right way and you can really achieve those high HRCs on the Magna Cut, it's not worth going with it. And if you guys are successful, because I always say it, and Scab, we do this on every live, it's more important. The person that's making the steel and treating the steel is more important than the steel you're working with. So if you guys do a great job with the steels, which you do, that you're working with, my personal experience is this Alchete. I beat the shit out of this thing, and I love it. I've never sharpened it. It's just it goes and goes and goes and goes. No matter what I do to it, it's just a reliable knife, and that's because the steel was treated well. Everything is working good with it, and if you have a good thing going, that's more important than thinking about getting all the best steels. But besides that, there is something in the chat that a couple people have been asking. Now, how do you guys differentiate between? There's about 3 people had said something about your knives underneath the coating. They're finding rust. Now, how do you differentiate between like patina and rust and things like that? I'm actually going to bring something up on screen. It says here, I don't know if you know why they're okay. I would like to know if they know why their stonewash finish seems to patina rust from under the finish. I've heard a few people say the same thing. No shade. I love my tops. So a couple people saying anything about rust. Do you guys want to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. We can get into that one. So, okay. So the knives so we had for years, we had a finish called Black River Wash. We had another one called Acid Rain. We still do some tumble finish knives, but we've gotten away from most of those because of the finish that we're using. And I want to be careful what I'm saying here because I'm not trying to blame Cerakote. It's not. I don't think that their finish is crap. It's not that. It's that.
But it has changed over the years.
Yeah, it did. It did change. So when we first started doing Black River Wash, the coat that Leo used was this clear Cerakote. So they're not unfinished. They're not like they're painted. They do have a coating on them. And that Cerakote was an air cure, which takes anywhere from about 45 minutes to an hour to be tack free. So in that first hour where it's sitting there, if there's any dust in the air, if somebody coughs, whatever, that stuff is going to stick to that knife and you're going to have a finish that's messed up. So after that hour, it takes 24 hours to be dry to the touch. And then it takes a full 5 days to actually cure all the way.
5 to 7 days.
And so we would have to paint them, let them sit for an hour, then put them in like a booth for like 5 days, basically like a week before we could touch them. And so that was really hard. And they came out with a newer clear that was an oven cure. So you would spray it. 15 minutes later, you can put it in the oven. You bake it for 2 hours. When it comes out of the oven, the finish is hard and dry and done. It's ready to go. Really cool. The problem is that somewhere in between these changes they were doing with their clears, we started having issues where the rust would show up underneath the paint. So the problem is it's a clear paint. So you can tell that the knife is wet, but you can't necessarily see if there's air bubbles. You can't see if it's there might be problems that you don't see until later on. And that's what
we're talking weeks, months, even a year. No, probably not a year.
Not years necessarily, but unless it's neglected.
But weeks out, that's when you could start seeing that rust come up.
So we saw this happen on very few knives. And so it was a yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's good.
Oh yeah. So
you got a sample.
Oh yeah. So the thing with Cerakote is it's supposed to be applied to a sandblasted surface. But what we were applying it to is an acid finished surface. So we would sandblast the knives, we would do an acid process, and then we would paint them. And so we were kind of smoothing out some of the finish that the paint would adhere to. That's why I'm saying we're not trying to blame Cerakote here. We know that we're not applying it to the right kind of surface, but we can't because otherwise the clear, there's no point in even using it.
We went to the point that we even flew out to Oregon to try to figure this out with Cerakote.
Yeah, they've worked on it with us 3 times.
3 times.
3 times
Yep.
that they've tried to help us solve the issue.
Yep.
Because they want us to be able to use it on that finish. They've been really cool about it. But I mean, we went through everything in our building. We put an air dryer on the air compressors. We put nodes like into the paint booth to get rid of any possible water in the line. We did all sorts of testing. We did all sorts of stuff. We went to Oregon. We got certified in how they spray. They showed us how to do it their way. We got the little measuring thing that'll tell you how thick it is. Like we went the whole 9 yards. We went as far as we could to try to make it to follow exactly their protocols and do it the way they are saying we needed to. And we just couldn't make it go away entirely. The vast majority of those knives did not rust, but there were enough that did. We just couldn't keep doing it. So we stopped doing the acid process, and now we're using colors. That's why, like the El Chete, the old version of the El Chete was that acid rain. The new version is a midnight bronze color. So
Which is what I have, bronze color.
Yeah. It's a cool color. I like that one too.
Yeah.
The main difference between the color and the clears is the strength, the rust resistance, and the scratch resistance. The clear is a little bit less in every category than the colors are, and it's because it's clear. It's hard to do, and so the colors, they're great. We're using those more and more, and basically what was happening is if the rust started to form, it would get between the blade and the paint, and the only way to take it off is to get the knife reprocessed and do a different color.
So is it fair to say that there was a batch or two, there was some batches that had that issue, but now modern times were okay with it? Okay with that?
Yes, and I'm a lot of times I wouldn't even say it's the whole batch, because some knives would rust and some wouldn't. Like we would take knives from the same batch, and some would be fine and some wouldn't in our own shop, and it was weird. And then sometimes we'd send them out. I mean, all the time we'd send them out. They'd look great, everything's fine, no sign of rust, the paint looks good, it looks like it's correct. And then it gets to the customer and there's already rust.
Well, just our distributor, they buy big batches, and they out of like say 50, they would send us 5 back that had it. And that was out of the same batch.
So just so we could address the chat a little bit, if there's anybody in the chat that basically is having that issue right now,
get a hold of us. Get a hold of us, and we'll recode it for them.
So
we've been doing this for a while.
It's been about a year and a half now since we stopped doing the acid entirely. So we'll still do it every now and then on a thing here or there, but not on a whole knife now. So we're getting to the point where pretty much anything that was going to have an issue probably has, and almost everything from here on out is probably going to be because somebody neglected it. However, what we've still been doing is if it's clearly a product of the paint failing, we're still covering it for anybody that's having issues. We've covered it for people that have been like, hey, it's been like this for a few months and I've been using it, it's just bugging me. We've still been helping them out. So, we're doing the best we can to make sure that nobody's getting like left out if they've got an issue with it.
Leo, somebody else has a question for you. It says, Leo, when is the Badger Creek going to come out?
Let's ask Craig that question.
I don't know. I don't know.
Craig's the one that arranges how they're coming, but they
it'll be next year for sure.
We modified it a little bit on the handle part. I actually got one made out of Damascus for me. I'm going to use this hunting season. But yeah, it's hopefully by beginning of next year.
Beginning next year, it should be fairly early next year. That one's going to be stainless steel. We're going to go with N690.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be really highly stain resistant. That thing will be great for like food. It'll be great for campsites. N690 is not going to have the best edge retention ever, but it's going to be real low maintenance for most people.
And that's what I wanted to do with that. That's what I wanted to achieve. I wanted to do like a camp knife, hunting knife, something you can have out and you don't have to take care of it much. So.
Yeah. To go back to I guess finish off the rest of that guy's question. So he was talking like, what's the difference between patina and rust? It's basically what caused the rust. So if your knife is rusting because of moisture, like water, it's going to be that orange rust. And if left, it's going to pit. It's going to get dusty. It's going to ruin the knife. A patina is a good rust. It's still rust, but it's the kind of rust that's not going to like damage.
That's what you get more cutting tomatoes, lime, stuff like that. That's the
anything acidic. And some people like with carbon steel kitchen knives, some people will cut limes or tomatoes or things like that on purpose, and just leave the blade wet sitting on their cutting board for a while so that it will do that.
Oh yeah, I mean people love forcing that patina on there because they like the look of it, that antique type of look. Yeah,
and it does provide some protection from the bad rust later on too. Like not a lot, but some.
Interesting.
Well, that's why all the old school knives, the old school carbon steel knives, will be black. That's a patina.
Right.
Exactly.
I mean, and so it's what it is. I powder coat and sandblast, so it's all surface prep. And my guys, if we can't blast, we acid wash, which I hate it. I despise it. But I understand that too. Well, I despise it because all your chemical guys want to try to con you into believing it's the same as blast, and it's not. It's not close. But
right.
I do appreciate you guys. Here's what I do with y'all's blades, because I've got 3. I got a bunch, but I've got 3. that started that. So I strip them and I force the patina, right?
Oh,
That's what I like doing. And it's, I think it's a Topstahoma missile strike. But for me, it's just part of the enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? I like stripping the coating off, putting that patina on there, use vinegar, mustard, whatever. I enjoy doing that. I did want to ask y'all, this knife here, I did a review on, the Armado.
oh yeah.
Really, really liked it. The only thing I had with it was this right here.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, and here's the
So
thing.
Josh, if you see in this, Josh,
Yeah.
we told you so.
We thought exactly.
That was a designer.
Well, and here's the thing with it. From here up, dude, absolutely adored it. Adored it. But when I went to chop, that thing ate my finger up. And I thought, you know what? Because I have found with certain designers, if they live up north or if they're hunters, you know, a lot of times guys will design knives for gloves. I said, okay. So when I chopped with it with a glove, it still did the same thing. Is there any way, because this knife is phenomenal, is there any way we could angle that down or just get rid of the damn thing? Or move the lanyard hold to the middle? Because
On yours in
it's a hell of a knife.
On yours in particular, like Craig asked, if it's something for you, we can do it. The design, it'd be going through Josh.
Yeah, the design, we got to go back through the designer to kind of approve any changes. This is something that we.
Because it's an amazing knife. And here's the truth. Here's the other side of it. Let's just be real. I'm a YouTuber, right? So I do a bunch of shit you're not even supposed to do with it.
Sure.
So for a lot of it, we could have designed this as a slicer, and I do bear that in mind. That a knife's a cutting tool. We have to remember that. I think, you know, and I kept that in the back of my head. The thing with it is, I got to thinking about it. I thought, you know, this is a knife I would absolutely carry, love to carry, enjoy carrying. But there's always that in the back of your mind. There's never going to be a one tool option, but you want it to be able to. Does that make sense?
Right.
Yeah. But I love the knife. But I thought, gummit, why couldn't we just go down with it? But a great knife, and it's slicey as hell. Very impressed with it. That was my only. And I don't bitch about much. So tell the designer, I won't bitch about a lot. We need to get rid of that.
Yeah, you really got to have a big problem for you to complain about anything, Scab. You're pretty, you pretty much make it work, you know. But yeah, I'm the same way. Sometimes you just want to, you know, everyone gets into that thing where you just want the knife to do everything well. But I can see that basically how that would be a little bit uncomfortable, especially if you have oversized hands. If you have if you have Donnie hands, if you have oversized hands, it's going to be even more uncomfortable. I mean, if you're holding that exact same handle with medium-sized hands, you'll never have an issue with that knife whatsoever. But anything from large to extra large, I can see basically why that would be an issue. And it is a great knife. I mean, the knife is fantastic. I can see how capable that's definitely got to be.
Yeah, and the thing is, you see that a lot with large knives. With small knives, it's not as big of a deal, like you were saying. With larger knives, if you have the metal kind of sticking out past the handle, it tends to not be comfortable for most people. So it's we did mention it. It's something that we like he was saying. Anytime we're doing our own designs or collaborations, we see something that we know might be a sticking point for some people, we bring it up. And he was like, no, we should be good still. It's not really meant for that. You know, it was. So you're in the same kind of zone that he was with it. And in the end, he was like, I like it. Let's keep it. You know, some people will throw like a lanyard on it and then they'll be fine. But I personally, I'm not a big fan of lanyards for the most part. So I would, it's another one that I would probably be cool with, but I know I wouldn't want to chop with it.
Yeah, no. And again, I get it. And I'd say the vast majority, and Joe, poll the chat, how many of you really chop? I mean, if we really get down to it, using a knife, and Leo, you just mentioned hunting. How many times do you chop with your knife on a hunting trip? I'm sure some guys do.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some guys live and die by it. some guys just aren't going to do it. So I'm sure in y'all's spot, it's a matter of, okay, we want to do what the designer says. You can't listen to everybody.
Right.
You know,
right.
and that would be, I think, one of the biggest. That's why I don't want to design a knife or any of that building. I think I would get wrapped way too much up into how many people are, you know, how many hands in the cookie jar, if you would.
Yeah, that definitely happens. We see that with engineers a lot. They don't ever know when to stop designing.
Right.
Just to address the chat, guys, if you have any questions, if you had asked any questions, maybe just repost it again so I can see it in the chat. If you guys have any questions, you know, for the boys here at Tops about some knives or any designs or anything like that, please put it into the chat. But I wanted to ask you guys, how many, and no pressure here, but how many knives are you selling right now? How many designs? Forget about the ones that discharge that currently. Yeah. That you're selling right now. How many knife designs or knives do you have, models, however you want to indicate it, do you have on your site right now for sale?
It's approximately 280 plus.
A little bit underneath 300 models.
Yeah. So there's some that are still back ordered, not retired. There's plenty that are retired. But yeah, active models is in the neighborhood of like 283. And then some of those models we don't count, like maybe there's a different color handle or a different color blade. Sometimes we don't separate that and call it a different knife. So active, like actual SKUs, it probably is over 300 once we add in all those variations that are like the same knife with multiple options.
That's impressive. And how long has Tops, how many years would you say from when you started, Leo, that basically to basically have that many knives? Like how many years have you been going now?
We've been going 26 years.
26 years.
But really, I guess in the last 15 to 18 years is when we really start, you know, ramping it up on designs.
Pushing the envelope. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, and then, once I start designing more and then we start, you know, I guess, what's it been, about 10 years where we start bringing in like 10, 15 a year?
Yeah, probably.
So about 10 years.
So,
8 to 10 years where we start bringing in a big quantity every year, like anywhere from 10 to 50 new models.
And we've been retiring less than that.
It's hard for me to retire.
Say it again, Scab.
How do you guys track all that? 'Cause that's astronomical. I mean, that's awesome to have that kind of follow-up.
That would be the tough question for us because we do it and it works out somehow, but you know, it's sometimes it's tough. It really is.
Right.
Yeah, the hardest part is keeping them all stocked because we can only make, you know, maybe 15 models a week or so in any kind of quantity that's like meaningful. And so that's the hardest, especially when COVID hit and it just, people would buy anything just to have an edge. That was the hardest part for us because we got so buried, and to be able to like make this model and then circle back and make it again just took too long. That was the hardest part. As long as we can keep some amount of stock, we're good. But when we get behind, it gets really hard because it just takes a long time to make.
In the last couple of years, we've been ramping up the quantities we've been making.
Yeah.
You know, before we were making anywhere from 100 to 200. Now we're making anywhere from 1,000 to 2,000 to 3,000 of a SKU.
That's insane.
That's
I'm sitting here in my head. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
I know there was a time where the first Tops knife I had, I showed you guys last time, was the Condor Alert. But the first Tops knife I bought was the El Chete. And I wound up, there's a guy who has been just unbelievably good to me in my channel, JR. That's the one knife he didn't have. And there was a time where it was incredibly hard to give an El Chete. So he didn't have one. So I sent him my El Chete. Is that one that you guys kind of not struggle, but is that one you have to keep going back and reproducing? Is that one that's tough to keep in stock?
Yeah, that's one of the top.
Yeah, the El Chete, the Operator 7, the Fieldcraft, aka
Even the Wild Pig
Bob,
Hunter there for a little
Wild
bit.
Pig Hunter. As far as like bigger knives go, the El Chete is one that surprises me a lot. Kinda like it's such a badass knife that I'm not surprised, but at the same time, it's so large. It does surprise me how well it sells. It just sells so much. Everybody loves that knife. It's so hard to I think currently we're still back ordering on it. So we've been shipping them. Dealers here and there are getting them in stock, but we are still back ordered with our distributor and some dealers.
Now, would you call that your flagship knife? Or what would you call your flagship knife, Leo?
Probably the Bros. Right?
Steel Eagles. The Steel Eagle, I think, is probably the most iconic.
Iconic and flagship. Yeah, it would be the Steel Eagle.
Steel Eagle 107.
Right. The top sellers, El Chete and the Bros, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
Which one's El Chete and which other one?
And the brothers of Bushcrafts. You know, we have about 7 different models, I think.
No, we got more. We got like there's
different handles.
11. There's like 15.
Holy shit!
2 different steels, 3 or 4 different finishes, and then like pretty much every handle.
Yeah, that's probably the top seller, but flagship, the Steel Eagles for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the Brothers of Bushcraft is just such a good looking knife. I mean, it just is.
That's this little sleek design here.
Good looking knife. And the El Chete is badass. And like Joe said, it holds up. It's just a monster cleaver. What's not to like?
Yeah, seriously.
You know, I mean, just to go have some fun, it works well. I've got the Bestia. That thing chops like it. That's an insane chopper. Joe, I'm gonna send that one to you. I'm gonna send the Bestia.
I've seen that one. That one's nice.
That thing's wicked, and it chops. Everybody always sees it and says kukri. Well, it doesn't swing anything like a kukri. It's just a wicked chopper to me. That I love that.
That Bestia. When I designed that, we had a car. We still have cars in the back that we go and test our stuff with. But that was the knife that I took off the roof of the car.
Yeah,
that Bestia. Yeah, that thing was
cut through the frame.
Cut through the frame.
I'm actually going to bring it up on screen now. Share.
Yeah, that's a knife that you put in your hand and you just want to hit something. You know, you want to go through something.
I had a piece of advantage at work, and it went through it. I mean, it blew through it. There it is. Well, here.
Well, you got it. So yeah.
Here, let me grab it.
Yeah, pictures do no justice until you have one in your hand.
It's large.
That's the truth. You know what? That's so the truth. There's so many times where basically I would see a knife as a consumer, and I would basically then get it and put it in my hand. I'm like, wow, this is so much more, different than basically seeing it in a picture. Holding it, it's just sometimes if you don't really have somebody's hand in a picture, you really can't really get a good gauge as far as
and sometimes even then you still can't.
You still can't. Yeah. Yeah,
there's one
bring it off.
Maybe if you know the person, but if you don't know the person, you would. It's hard. But yeah, look at that. That's
big.
That's a monster. Absolute monster. I call it my boomerang knife.
I like looking at it.
That's nice. Wicked, man. This thing is wicked, and I'll tell you the truth. It'll still. I'm looking for something. It'll still slice paper, and I went through it. I took it to work, and I went through a bunch of dunnage with it. I mean, it just ate it like it wasn't sitting there. And it's a heavier knife, right? It's a bigger knife, but it doesn't wear you out. I say it doesn't swing like a tree. That's not entirely true. You can swing it like that and let the knife do the work. And it is absolutely. I'll send it to you, Joe, because it's still. I mean, you still can cut paper. You probably still shave with the thing. Holds an edge big time. Really like this knife a lot.
Let me actually go. There's a question for Leo in the chat. Does Leo collect any other company's knives?
Yeah, I do. Actually,
of course he does.
I have a Spyderco in my pocket right now.
That one's MagnaCut, isn't it?
This is MagnaCut.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
This is a Spyderco that I
You
got from
lied
one
that
of-
you said you have no magnet cut.
No, that was me. That was me.
that was
Oh,
him.
that was you.
No, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do. But yeah, this is actually I got this from the guy from Spyderco at an Overland show. I think we sort of traded he got a best
That was in Flagstaff. I wasn't there.
he got
I don't know what he got.
a best.
Oh, okay.
It was
Yeah.
a best, and then we sort of traded for this. But yeah, I do collect other company knives. I love what we do, and our knives are badass. But other companies, they do a hell of a job with their especially folders. I use a lot of other companies' folders.
I think this is common for anybody in the knife world. Even like, I mean, Leo owns the place. Before he carried this, he was carrying an Emerson.
Yeah,
Before that, he was carrying Benchmade or something. What was the other one? Or something else he was carrying. It was another brand. Like, it's not like we don't like other companies' knives. We're knife guys. Like, we still like knives. We're gonna carry tops more than anything else. But I mean, that's in his pocket right now, and he's been using it all day. I've seen him use it like 5 times today, opening boxes or cutting this or that. Like, that's what we do.
It's kind of
So,
hard
yeah,
to
we'll
pull out the Achete to freaking open up boxes all the time.
Yeah,
You gotta have
for
something,
sure.
something a little, at your side here,
Yeah, Leo's got. Leo's. I think with knives, he's more of a user. Almost everything he gets, he's gonna use.
Yeah, I'm
There's
gonna
probably
use.
not many knives you haven't used.
Probably one of the Case brothers. What was it called? The Sobral brothers
Oh yeah,
out of Argentina.
you bought one of their hatchets,
One of their
right?
hatchets,
Yeah.
and that's probably the only one that I haven't.
that you
used.
haven't used. Yeah, but other than that, I think
Yeah.
everything he gets, he uses. It doesn't matter if it's $500 or $5. He's probably going to use it.
You got
Here's
to.
another one for
You
you.
have to.
Any chance of a larger version of the Hog 4.5?
Oh,
Oh yeah, let's do
I
that.
know that the guy that designed that makes a larger version of it. Norseman Dave Williams.
Dave Williams.
He makes a larger version. I think he makes one that's like an 8-inch version, and I think he makes a smaller version of it too. We don't. So it's not our design. It's not a Tops design. So typically, we're not going to take something that we didn't design in the first place and make a bigger or smaller one without their blessing or without them reaching
If
out.
there's a lot of push,
Hey, do you
we'll
wanna
reach
do
out.
it?
We'll reach out to the designer to do it. But when we hear it here and there, it's a little tough. Again, how many models we have, but yeah, if there's a push, we will reach out to the designer.
Okay. Let me see if there's
That's a
anything
very
else.
non-committal answer, but that's the best you're going to
Yeah,
get.
no,
right
I
now.
hear you. How about the Almar? The Tops Almar. Any chance of that still being made or?
So,
Well, that's sort of in the works. I don't know.
That's another interesting one. So when we started making that, Gary Fadden owned Almar. This was after Almar had passed away. Gary Fadden worked with him, I think, for many years. And then I don't know how it worked between Almar's widow and Gary Fadden, but at some point, Gary owned the company, reached out to us. He's like, hey, do you guys want to make this? And we're like, yeah, that sounds really awesome. And he's like, do you want to sell it as like to me, or do you want to do a Tops version? Leo's like, yeah, let's do a Tops version. So we made a little over 1,000 of those, maybe. I don't remember the final number. We made quite a few in a short amount of time, and then the company got sold, and the new owners were they were well versed in Chinese manufacturing, and they were like, we're gonna do it ourselves. Thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah, we actually got that cease and desist order in Germany.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. They basically told us, hey, like, we need you to stop making them. They agreed to let us finish what we had already started and sell those, but then we were just supposed to be done. And so for a few years, their position was, no, we're going to handle the manufacturing. We don't want to do anything outside. We're going to do it ourselves.
But that was coming from one guy, and we sort of heard a different story just in these last couple months.
Yeah. So the company that owns it now may be interested in us making it and either selling it to them or selling it again. We've been in talks. It's moving slowly. We'll hear from them, and then we don't for a while, and then we will, and then we don't. So it's definitely a possibility. Again, where, like, if you had asked me a year ago, I would have said no way. I would have said they said no, and that's it. But now it seems like maybe it's possible.
Guys, you have do you guys sell a trench knife?
We don't.
No.
Okay, do you guys do you have any thoughts about making one? I'm just going by some requests that people are putting into the chat.
Guard knives with a guard. It's a lot of steel. And I don't see the other than to do a remake or like some kind of commemorative type knife. I don't see much of a use for like a full on D guard on a knife anymore. So it's not that we wouldn't. It's not that we won't. Don't get me wrong, because you never know when all of a sudden Leo's going to be like, "Oh yeah, let's make one." But we haven't up to this point, and guard, just a full on guard in particular like that. It's not really.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
it hasn't been our style. You never know.
Slice steel would you consider that?
Yeah, basically. So there was a company that we did OEM for, Slice Steel, and he had something like a trench knife where it was basically like a split finger guard. So your hand would go through, the guard would cover all 4 fingers, but there was like a metal piece in between your index and your ring finger, and he called it a split guard.
I see what you're saying.
And it was cool. It was a good knife. He was at one point we were looking at making like a larger one for firefighters to like break into vehicles. He made a decent amount of those, considering that it was just him trying to run this company by himself, aside from his day job.
Yeah.
So that knife was pretty cool. He might still have some available. I don't know. He hasn't reordered in a while.
Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good.
No, what I was going to say is, if you were going to do one, the missile strike would be dope. Because I was sitting here thinking, if all you have to do is come down and it's already got the blade shape. And,
that guard's almost long enough to begin with.
The use for them so you can punch somebody in the mouth with before you stab them. So, if you're a criminal or something like that, that would be a badass knife to do if you were going to do one. Because you're already kind of, let me come over here. That's already kind of got the shape.
You got the steel there already. We're wasting that steel.
Yeah, we're already cutting it off. It's a good point.
I don't know. I'll play with that.
That's a good idea. I mean, I don't know if you have to look at it. I know you guys look at it from a business end, and Craig, I totally get what you're saying. But there is that crowd, and that's one question I was going to ask, and I know we've been on for a minute, but I did want to ask one last one. Do you guys sell, I always look at tops as user knives, right? They're knives that are made to be used. That's what they're for. But do you guys have a lot of collectors? And now Guns and Blades, I know he buys 2 or 3 of everything. I know he's a monster tops collector. But do you guys have a lot of collectors that come to you?
I don't know if I would say a lot, but there are some out there, yes. There's actually a dude in Germany buys almost everything he can get his hands on. He's got some knives. He's got one of those Mac 7s. He's got a lot of old school stuff. He's got a lot of new stuff. He's got some stuff that's like customized. There's a dude.
There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys on the Top Knife user group.
Yeah.
That
have a lot.
Like Bill, Bill's
got a lot.
He has a lot of the old school ones. So.
But yeah, and the thing is, a lot of those guys, again, I don't know that I'd call them all collectors, because a lot of them still use a lot of their knives. They're not necessarily like sitting in a safe.
I think we have a lot of collectors / users of top, but it's for use, not really for putting it in your safe, and hopefully it gets value after a while. But
and there's a lot of guys there are a lot of guys. I'm not one of them, but there are a lot of guys who like buying knives to enjoy the artistic part of it. You know what I'm saying? They like to look at them. They like to, but it's never a shot. I mean, when I think of tops, I think of a user knife, right? I'm going to use the knife. That's kind of what, but I was curious, especially having so many different, which that's a monster number, man. That would be crazy trying to keep inventory on that. But That was kind of my thing. And I can tell it's a point of contention because you guys have laughed every time we mentioned it. So
No, it's yeah. Oh no, not so much. It's we laugh at the, it's work, and so like you could either be upset about it or you can have fun. Like we're gonna have fun, and so but yeah,
Right.
as collectors, there are some,
Yeah, there is.
but yeah, I think definitely more users than collectors, and a lot of the guys that collect still like Guns and Blades. I think he'll buy usually two, one that gets used and then one that he
puts
saves.
away, yep.
He saves.
So
Yeah.
some people that do that, yeah.
Well, I wanted to kind of ask you guys a
Outstanding.
question to kind of close this off pretty soon. But there's actually one thing we did, like a contest back then, as far as like if you had to stick with one knife company to get all your knives from, for whatever reason, you have to have one knife company to choose from that you can only chop from them to get everything you need. I mean, I picked Hops because honestly, it's really every variation of everything you can possibly need under one roof. I mean, you guys did a great. The reason why I asked you how many knives you have, because I think you guys did a great job in trying to kind of give people every possible variation of every need that you would have in a knife, in terms of the big choppers, the small ones, all the fixed carries, the bushcrafting, this, that. It just is everything that you can need there, which is a great thing. If you guys had to pick 2 or 3 signature knives that identify Tops, like you say, these 3 knives are what Tops is all about. What 3 knives? It could be more, it could be 2, it could be less. What knives would you say those are?
I'm gonna go first, so I make it hard on Craig, but I'll go with the Steel Eagle, the Tracker, and the El Shady.
Okay, perfect. How about you, Craig?
Yep, he definitely made that difficult. The Bob
pick the
definitely
same.
fits into that.
Yeah.
Bob definitely fits into the conversation.
Yeah, I left you a good one.
I gravitate towards smaller knives a lot because you can do almost everything with a 3.5 inch blade. So
Yeah, chop a tree down.
I would say the Bob. I would say probably like the Scandi Trekker or mini Scandis. They're the same knife, just one slightly larger than the other. And for like a large knife, yeah, we're coming back to El Chetti. Like that's it.
It always goes.
I
to the
can't
outside
believe
thing.
y'all didn't- I can't believe neither one of you mentioned the Silent Hero.
I was
Because
waiting for the Silent Hero. I was
yeah,
waiting for that
that's,
too.
I don't know, man.
Silent
That's on the
Hero, too.
list
Even
for
the
sure.
small one. The small
Yeah.
one. I like.
I was waiting
Yeah.
for that too. Yeah,
That's a good point. That is a good point.
I was
That's a
waiting
good
for
one.
that.
Yeah, that is.
I don't want
That's-
to
That
pressure you,
one
but I
might
was
be one
waiting
on
for
the
it.
thread.
Yeah, but once we started thinking about it, then you got that Silent Hero, even that Hog.
There's a lot that pop into mind.
the light track, the Satan.
Oh
that
yeah.
Satan. They're once you start really thinking about it, you just can keep going through the list.
Yeah, that Silent
Well,
Hero's in a good
that's
spot too. Between
Go, Scab.
Go ahead, Craig. Go ahead, Craig.
No,
Go ahead, Craig.
I was just gonna say that Silent Hero falls into almost into that like one tool type option where it's not quite large enough to be a great chopper, but you can. But it's also not so large that you can't do small tasks with it. It's got the finger choil and everything. I mean, you can do a lot of stuff with the Silent Hero.
That Silent Hero, the small one. Every time somebody comes to the booth and asks, an everyday carry, I want a fixed blade. That's probably one of the first ones I pick up, and it's one of the first knives that we sell out of.
Yeah,
That small
that
Silent
Silent Hero
Hero.
4.
Yeah.
Phenomenal knife. I love that knife, man. God, I love that knife. I'll tell you why I like the regular size Silent Hero. The main reason is it reminds me a lot of a butcher knife.
Yeah.
And the more a knife looks like a knife, the more I love the knife. And so when I think of like the Silent Hero, and I know, Anton, I know his background, but when I think about this, I do think of an American butcher's knife. The old school frontiersman, carrying something like that. It's simplistic in design, nice drop point, plenty of handle. this is kind of what I think about when I think about a knife. Like, okay, you got one, that's all you get, which I hate that. But if that, then I would probably honestly go with the Silent Hero. I really would.
That's a good point.
You can defend yourself.
Like every era kind of has its era and maybe location kind of has its EDC. Like the Vikings EDC would have been a sax.
Yeah.
Which like was at least 12-inch long in the blade, you know, like maybe a little long for EDC nowadays, but that was the daily carry then. That makes a lot of sense. That being almost like a frontier's knife, like that's the do everything knife. Skin, butcher, you know, make your firewood, do this, do that, kind of your everything everyday knife.
Absolutely.
Well, see, this is my point of bringing this up because I knew it wouldn't be a very easy question to answer. The fact of the matter is, we can go on for another hour and compare different knives from Tops and say, yeah, you know, why didn't you mention this? Well, this is good for this is good for that. The fact of the matter is, guys, you have some really great knives in your arsenal, in your collection right now that anybody could choose from. But just so we can start closing this off, how do you want to leave this live? Is there anything, any come ups or anything, maybe a little sneak peek into the future that you're able to share at this point of some new designs or some things that are coming into Tops or new business ventures or collabs or anything like that?
So next year we got a lot of cool stuff coming. Just thinking about what I have on the list, there's some new designers, there's some existing designers. Interesting knives going to be on the table at SHOT Show for sure. The next release that we're going to do, however, is sitting right here on the table. It's been here the whole time. You guys just haven't been able to see it very good because of the angle.
Well, now you realize that, yeah, it's there. Okay.
There it is. So this is called the Lilith, and it was designed by Jason Johnson, who goes by Pro Knife Thrower on Instagram. He is he's a smart guy. Like, he knows a lot of stuff. He puts a lot of thought into his designs. A lot of his more like standard size knives, I guess you could say. He uses the golden ratio when he's going like handle to blade. Like, he puts a lot of thought into what he does. This one, he made, I think, 3 of these when he first was kind of like working on this thing. He sent us one, kept one for himself, and then I think he either gave one or sold one to another guy. And at first we were like, man, that's large, we're not so sure. And the more Leo looked at it, he's like, we're doing this. And what's interesting about it is it's big. I mean, this is clearly a chopper. I think we're at roughly a 12-inch blade. It might be like 11 or 12. But the handle tapers thin towards the pommel, which is weird for a large knife like this.
The blade longer than 12.
What do you think, 13 or 14?
Yeah, we're close to 14, 15 inches on the blade.
Oh, maybe. Okay, yeah, maybe we're closer to 15 on the blade.
And the fuller helps out as far as even just the balance of it. It's the fact that you have the fuller there, I think, is good to help out with the balance of it.
Yeah, there's a fuller to kind of help reduce a little bit of weight, and there is kind of like a V grind on the top to help reduce a little bit of weight as well, and it just looks good. The reason this has a finger hole is so that if you are going to chop with it or do kind of like big cutting tasks, you got a good grip, because the taper makes it a little bit trickier to hold as a large chopping type knife. But the guy's a thrower, and he has definitely thrown his prototype, and he's definitely thrown the ones that he's made. Like, he'll throw anything. He's not only going to throw a throwing knife sized knife. So we're not marketing this throwing knife because we can't really do that, but this is kind of like that. And so that's why the handle is the way it is. We did leave a hole to be able to put a lanyard on there to kind of help with the grip as well. But that's why it has this finger hole where most large knives wouldn't necessarily have that there, and also wouldn't taper at the handle. So it's got some weirdness to it for a large knife, but there's a reason behind it all. And I'm excited. This is gonna be a fun
we did
one.
do a taper all around the hole too, to watch out for those spots that
The hot spots, yeah.
the hot spots, yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so I think we
got
did
like a
like
radius
two variations of it before
I think
we
so.
did this.
Yeah.
But yeah, now we did a radius and we thinned this up a little bit, which it's not gonna break. It's a little thinner, but we're just still talking about a little over an 1/8 inch. So, but yeah, that's something we did watch on that.
Yeah, so it's a cool knife. It's gonna be out very soon. Before the end of the month, it'll be out. It's gonna have a nice Kydex sheath, one of those kind of out the
Like an El Shetty, like the El Shetty.
Yeah, just like the El Shetty sheath. Yeah, cool. I'm excited about this one. This is gonna be a lot of fun once people get their hands on it.
You're saying by next month? You said should be released
before the end of this month.
before the end of this month. Okay,
So
soon.
it'll be like 2 weeks from today, in fact.
Pretty soon. I like it. I like it a lot.
That's badass.
I can see a lot more use out of that thing, especially the recurvature there. You can probably process a little bit of some wood with the recurvature there, like a kukri.
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
I think it looks like you could really choke up on it a little bit. You know, I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's a fun design. Large, I like I was saying earlier, I like small knives, but every now and then there's a large knife that I'm like, man, I'm gonna have that just to cut things for fun, like not necessity, not anything like that. I'm just gonna go cut some shit. Like that's
Here's a silly question from Paul. I figure I'll put it up. It says, question in porn. Ask Leo if Craig can beat him in an arm wrestle, and also who can eat more tacos. Love to know.
Craig can do both.
No, there's no way I'd ever stand a chance trying to beat him in arm wrestling. He's got like that farm boy type strength that like he doesn't realize how strong he is.
But eating, Craig,
I can eat.
Yeah, Craig. Yeah,
I can
like
put
seeing
food
Craig.
down,
He'll put it down. So
That's what
I can probably drink.
Thanks for the question, Paul.
Leo can outdrink me. That's for sure. But I definitely can eat.
That is awesome. Scab, anything else?
Guys, man, thank y'all. We say that, and it sounds trite, but I'm so appreciative, man. You guys, I don't think you realize how much you've meant to me in my knife journey and in my YouTube journey. And I appreciate you taking the time to be here. It always, always, always is fun, and I hope we can do it again. Looking forward to meeting y'all this year in 25 at Blade Show. We're going to Blade Show in 25.
Oh, heck yeah, man.
So
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, we missed you the last time we went there, Leo. I think graduation. It was a graduation.
Yeah, my daughter and I had shoulder surgery.
Shoulder surgery.
Surgery and my daughter graduated.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So hopefully we could all meet up, God willing.
No,
and,
absolutely.
next Blade Show.
Maybe
but listen,
we can probably do a podcast there. You know, we usually get an Airbnb and do something.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. But listen, we say this all the time, and we're serious about it. If you guys have any reveals or any knives that you have coming in that you wanted to kind of get a jump start, saying it's released next month or 2 months, and you wanted to kind of do a little reveal thing, reach out. I mean, we'll be happy to open up. I actually the just so you know, the actual link that I gave you is your own Top Studio link. So that link can be used over and over again. So we can go back to that link because that's already preset. But if you have anything coming up, feel free to reach out. We'll get it done within a week and schedule it out. If you guys want to do any reveals, we'll be happy to do it.
Oh, heck yeah.
Awesome.
That'll be awesome.
It's guys like you that keep the industry alive and well and keep things going. So we appreciate it as well. And anytime you throw an invite out there and we can do it, we are happy.
We're definitely open to it.
Absolutely. So yes, guys, appreciate it very, very much. Thanks. Taking time from your busy schedules and all that. Thanks to everyone in the chat, all the questions that were asked, for everyone kind of sticking through the entire Blade Talk. We really appreciate you guys being here. And if you guys have any other questions that weren't answered, put it into the comments on the videos, and then maybe the guys will be able to take a look at it and answer.
Yeah, we'll look at it and
I guess that's fair. So if you guys have anything that you want to address, but obviously they are a phone call away. I mean, the good thing about dealing with an American company is the fact that this you can call them.
Absolutely.
Yep, we work normal hours.
Absolutely.
Joseph, take us home.
So let's close it off, guys. So listen again, thank you again, and have a good night, everybody. Until the next Blade Talk, we appreciate you guys, and thanks, guys, for being here. And let's close it off, and everybody have a great evening, and we'll see you again soon, guys. Stay on the line. Yeah. All right, have a good night, guys. Everybody.
Man. Thanks, everybody.
All right, awkward pause.